Welcome, friends, to another exploration of Rome's fascinating history. Today, we delve into a cornerstone of Roman civilization, something that shaped not only the lives of its citizens, but also the foundation of Western law itself. We are talking about early Roman law, from custom to written codes. Picture Rome in the early Republic. The year is around 500 BCE, and the city is still finding its footing after the overthrow of its last king, Tarquinius Superbus, in 509 BCE. Streets are alive with merchants, soldiers, and farmers. Temples rise, some still modest, some commanding the forum, and the air is thick with prayers and the hum of civic life. Yet behind the daily bustle lies a pressing question. How does a society govern itself fairly when power is concentrated in the hands of a few? How do you balance tradition, religion, and the need for public accountability? In these early years, law in Rome was primarily customary. The patricians, those noble families claiming descent from Romulus and the founding senators, controlled the interpretation and enforcement of these unwritten laws. Religious authority and social hierarchy were intertwined with justice. Priests and elders, known as pontiffs and patrician magistrates, would determine guilt and punishment based on tradition, precedent, and their understanding of divine will. Imagine being a plebeian in these times. You return from defending Rome in battle, perhaps from campaigns against the Volsci or Equi, to find your farm seized by a creditor. Who do you turn to for justice? The patrician magistrate? The decision will be made according to customs only known to the elite. How fair is justice when the rules themselves are secret? It was precisely these inequalities that eventually led to demands for reform. The plebeians, excluded from political office and burdened with debts, began to push for transparency. In 494 BCE, the first secession of the plebs highlighted the growing tensions. While that event is often remembered for creating the office of the tribune of the plebs, it also laid bare the need for a publicly accessible legal code. Could Rome survive as a republic if its citizens were governed by laws they could neither see nor understand? The pressure on the patricians grew over decades. By 451 BCE, a solution was proposed. The formation of the Decemviri, a commission of 10 men tasked with codifying the laws. These men came from the patrician class, but they were charged with creating something that would be visible, permanent, and understandable to all citizens. For the first time, law would be written down, displayed in public, and theoretically accessible to everyone. In 450 BCE, the results were unveiled as the 12 Tables. Carved onto bronze and displayed in the Forum, the 12 Tables covered nearly every aspect of Roman life. Family law, property rights, debt, inheritance, and punishments for crimes. For example, the laws detailed the treatment of debtors, the rights of fathers over their children, and the responsibilities of landowners. While some punishments were harsh by modern standards, the 12 Tables represented equality under the law, a revolutionary concept for the time. Yet, the 12 Tables were only the beginning. The codification of law was not a single achievement but a process of adaptation and negotiation. Plebeians now had access to legal knowledge, but social hierarchies and religious authority still influenced enforcement. For example, only certain magistrates could interpret laws, and the pontiffs continued to oversee religious aspects of justice. Could law truly be fair if its interpretation remained tied to an elite? Over the next decades, plebeians continued to push for reforms. Through their assembly, the Concilium Plebis, they passed plebiscites which, though initially binding only on plebeians, gradually gained authority over all citizens. These incremental victories reshaped Rome's legal landscape. By 367 BCE, the Licinian Sextian laws not only opened the consulship to plebeians, but also regulated land ownership, directly affecting economic inequality. Law was no longer a static reflection of patrician privilege. It was evolving to reflect the needs of society. Archaeological evidence helps us visualize these changes. Inscriptions on public monuments and remnants of the Forum reveal spaces where laws were displayed and assemblies met. Some fragments of the 12 Tables survive through later copies and references, reminding us of a time when law was literally written into bronze for all to see. Graves and monuments record the achievements of plebeian magistrates, highlighting a society slowly opening its doors to merit and representation. But Rome's legal evolution did not end with the 12 tables. Over time, the interpretation of law became more sophisticated. Magistrates such as praetors were empowered to issue edicts, adapting legal principles to new circumstances. Jurists debated, advised, and codified precedents. By the 3rd century BCE, Rome's legal system was no longer purely customary. It had become a living framework, capable of governing a growing republic. Imagine being a Roman citizen in 300 BCE. You walk through the forum and see the 12 tables. You know your rights, your obligations, and for the first time, the principles that guide justice in your city. Could a plebeian now rise to magistracy? Yes. Could they appeal decisions of higher officials? Increasingly so. Rome had taken monumental steps toward fairness and accountability, but the journey was ongoing. The influence of early Roman law extended far beyond politics. It shaped family life, property relations, commerce, and even education. Citizens were taught to respect laws, understand contracts, and fulfill civic duties. Public ceremonies, religious rituals, and festivals often reinforced legal and social norms, reminding Romans that law was intertwined with daily life. As centuries passed, Roman law became more codified and sophisticated, culminating eventually in works like the Corpus Juris Civilis, centuries later under Justinian. But its roots, the transition from oral custom to written codes, began here, in a small city-state struggling to balance tradition, justice, and equality. The story of early Roman law is also a story of negotiation, persistence, and social transformation. Each law, each reform, was born of conflict and compromise. Plebeians pressed for transparency and representation. Patricians resisted, adapted, and eventually shared power. The result was a legal system that underpinned a republic capable of enduring for centuries. So, as we reflect on these developments, consider this. How much of modern law is influenced by these early Roman experiments? How do written codes shape societies even today? The principles of transparency, accessibility, and accountability that emerged in Rome echo in legal systems around the world. And now, friends, we conclude this chapter of our journey through Roman history. The evolution of law, from custom to written code, reveals a society constantly negotiating fairness, authority, and social cohesion. But Rome's story continues, extending beyond politics and law into daily life, family, and education. In our next video, we will explore the formative years of Roman citizens in Roman childhood and education in the Kingdom and Republic. We will uncover how young Romans were raised, what values were instilled, and how education prepared them to become citizens, soldiers, and leaders. So subscribe, stay with us, and prepare to step into the world of young Romans, where the foundations of character, knowledge, and civic duty were laid. Until then, wait for our next video, Roman Childhood and Education in the Kingdom and Republic.